Hi, everybody. Okay, we're about 2 minutes after the hour, so I do think that we will get underway here. Lots of busy schedules, I am sure. So just a few gentle administrative reminders that those of you who've been with us before, we do record these calls so that we can place them on the GFAN website. We'll share the link throughout the call here, but you can always find them on our website within about 2 business days. It does take a little bit of time for us with our downloading these calls as our big files. And as always, this call is being provided with interpretation in French. So you can choose to join in French. Vous pouvez choisir à joindre nous autres en français si vous voulez, si vous préférez. And so please take use of that if you like. And we'll keep the chat lively and informative, and welcome to everybody who is joining. As always, we also do not allow AI note takers in our meetings. And so if you can disable yours, or just note that we are removing those that do come up to join. Welcome to everyone. Again, I'm Katie from GFAN, and I think we'll just dive right in with our agenda because we've got a lot of people online already, and I'm sure a few more to join as we get underway. But today we just wanted to, this is our last planned call. I keep trying to tell Conte it's our last planned call. You never know, we may have to pull everybody together again. But this is our last planned call before the 21st, which is expected to be the G20 pledging summit. We wanted to make sure that we had everybody that we could get with us today to give us a bit of an update around the campaign from the Secretariat, ourselves, our colleagues and our regional partners, and the two sort of co-hosts, co-hosting countries, so that we had the best possible update that we could have today. And we'll keep sharing information over the listserv, and should there be a need, we would convene another call, of course. There's nothing we like better than a good GFAN call. So our agenda today is, as you sort of see in front of you, we will start with an update from the Global Fund Secretariat. And I see Diane, who's probably got tight timelines. My guess is tighter than usual on days like today. So without sort of further ado, I will open it to Diane to share their update and presentation from the Global Fund Secretariat, and then we'll move into some civil society updates. So Diane, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And I know that Françoise was potentially going to join as well, and I'm not sure she's been able to, but obviously over to you and or other colleagues from the Secretariat. But Diane, welcome.
Thank you so much, Katie, and hello, everybody, on behalf of all the colleagues at the Global Fund. It's lovely to be here. Yes, I think Françoise and some of the other colleagues are hoping to join from Polokwane, but they're very much in transit at the moment. So I'll dive right in, Katie, knowing that we don't have a lot of time, and I'm more than happy to take questions. So if the intention is to just give you a little bit of an update on where we stand with all of our fundraising, both our conversion of our current 7th cycle and the 8th replenishment planning, and some details around what will happen in Johannesburg later this month. So just quickly on the 7th replenishment pledge conversion, if we go to the next slide, please. The teams have been working really, really hard to make sure that we convert the 7th replenishment commitments into actual cash. We're at 83% of conversion, which is very much in line with where we should be at this point in the cycle. So $11.43 billion in cash has been received by the Global Fund. We have managed to mobilize a little bit more money, 165 million since November 2022. When our 7th replenishment summit took place, and that is from both public and private donors, mostly from private donors, 136 million. So that's pretty exciting, and it gives you some idea also of the difference between the timing for replenishment cycles. Often the public donors very much commit on this cycle at the replenishment summits. Because that allows us to then make allocations to the vast majority of the countries, Private donors tend to be on slightly different timelines, so we often manage to raise more private money in between replenishments sometimes than on the strict timetable of replenishment cycles. But we'll see what happens this year. We have a very ambitious target for the private sector. If we go to the, if people could just mute, please. If we go to the next slide, you'll see that our rolling replenishment has been relatively successful so far. So we have $3 billion in pledges so far from both public and private sector. So we're very excited about this. This is announcements as at the 21st of October. So the idea of sort of getting as many as possible early announcements has worked relatively well. I think we'll obviously be evaluating our processes next year when we have taken a breath and had some sleep and thought about how we do replenishments in the future. But it did manage to, sorry, Kansai, is there any way you can take the menu down, because it's actually covering all the numbers, so I think it's hard for people to see. There we go. So we're pretty pleased with the commitments we were able to get in as early announcements. If we move now through to some of the events that we've managed to have over the last couple of weeks, the UN General Assembly was quite busy for us, considering we were intending to go a little bit low key at this General Assembly, noting that it was very busy with lots of other issues. But we did manage to get some attention to global health during that extremely intense week on other issues as well. We had an event where several of the private sector were able to pledge, and we were pleased that the week opened with the Gates Foundation announcing $912 million to the Global Fund, which was very exciting. And that built momentum for several other announcements throughout the week. We were also able to have many bilateral meetings with delegations that were in New York as part of our campaign to prepare for future pledges. Next slide, you'll see that we also had, of course, the wonderful German pledge of 1 billion euros at the World Health Summit made by the minister. That was very exciting. We were delighted with that. And we had several other events during the course of the week at the World Health Summit, which also featured a lot of advocacy from you, our wonderful GFANers and civil society supporters. So that was great. We had more recently a reception in London with both of our co-hosts represented at the ministerial level, the Foreign Secretary Cooper and Minister Lamola from South Africa. The event there was also focused on private sector announcements, with further announcements being made that evening from GSK and ViiV, which was matched by the Gates Foundation. So we kept the momentum going. And I hope you all saw the wonderful social media campaign with that painted London cab and the representatives from the two co-hosts. And then on the next slide, you'll see a little bit of a potpourri of the many donor engagements that we've been having in all over the world, actually, over the last couple of weeks and months. So you'll see some of these with civil society engagements, some with the private sector, some site visits, and some engagement with some of our suppliers. So a lot of different elements being featured in the campaign that we've had so far. On the next slide, you'll see a reflection of some of the champion and partner countries' engagement that we've been able to partner on. So there's been a lot of advocacy from the part of our African champions, with a lot of letters being written and a lot of attendance at various events. We had a wonderful ambassador roundtable in Geneva in September, just before UNGA, which South Africa and the Global Fund convened particularly to advocate with African ambassadors and health attaches around domestic resources for health, and also the importance of external funding in support of the health priorities in countries. We were also present at the Conference for Public Health in Africa in Durban a month later in October, where our vice chair was very active, present, delivered some remarks in the plenary, and also we participated in a number of side events focused on questions around the global health architecture, focuses on youth, and particularly on health financing and sustainable health financing, which is a key element and theme of this replenishment. And there's more to come. We have engagement at the high-level national roundtable in Kigali, which I think is today, yes, convened by the Rwanda NGO Forum with a lot of the development partners, again, focusing on domestic resources. And then next week, there'll be a roundtable with African ambassadors in Addis, also convened by South Africa with us to once again rally the ambassadors in Addis, ambassadors to the African Union around domestic resources and donor pledging. Next slide gives a little snapshot of some of the civil society engagement that we've been undertaking. So a huge thank you to all of you and your networks for all the work that's been going on. There's really been a very strong commitment to adaptability and flexibility given the huge changes that we've gone through in this campaign. It's been very challenging and volatile. There's been a number of innovative and creative campaigns that you've undertaken at national, regional, and global levels. So we're very excited about all that work. So huge thank you for that. And so much letter writing. We really appreciate the many sort of sign-on letters and other things that have been ongoing, and the participation or instigation of events in many of the capitals that you've been undertaking. And I know, and I think you'll be talking about this later in this meeting, there are a lot of GFAN tools and briefs that have been developed that you've been using. And the speakers and community voices have been fantastic. We were worried about the lack of civil society accessibility for New York at the UN General Assembly, but I think that was more than made up for by the very strong presence and engagement, as I mentioned, at the World Health Summit. So that was lovely. Moving on, I'll just give you some sense now of what to expect for the 21st of November summit. If you go to the next slide, we'll just give a little bit of an overview of where we are. This is the calendar leading up, and you'll see that week in Johannesburg in November has a number of things underway. There's the World Summit for, sorry, that's earlier in the month. The current events this week are the G20 Health Ministerial in Polokwane, which is starting today, if I'm not mistaken. And we have the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting next week, all leading up to the G20 Leaders Summit the following week. We hope to have a small moment at the EU-AU Summit in Luanda that's still under development, to celebrate all of the European Union commitments, but we're not sure yet if that is completely secured. And then I hope that by the time we get to December with World AIDS Day and the ACASA meeting in Accra, we will have something to celebrate after the replenishment. So let's have a look now at the summit program. There'll be a lot of events in the week leading up to this program, but once we get to the 21st of November, we will have a sort of 3.5-hour hybrid event. So it will be available for invited and registered guests will be able to watch the live stream. And for a smaller segment, we'll be in South Africa. We are not doing our usual replenishment with everybody attending, as you all know. I think we've talked about that before in previous meetings. But the idea here is just to wrap up where we are and give an opportunity for any of the donors who haven't yet pledged to make final pledges. So it'll have 3 distinct segments. One, an opening segment with what we hope will be a wonderful performance by the Ndlovu Youth Choir. And after that, partner remarks, final call to action by the co-hosts. Peter will give a relatively detailed forward-looking speech, and we will have partner contributions during that segment. And then we'll move very quickly into the pledges and commitments segments, where we'll have in-person and pre-recorded pledges, including summaries of all the pledges I've already signaled and shown you that have happened so far this year. We'll have short video packages showing all of those. And there'll be some campaign content and so on to move us through the agenda, culminating in the final hour, where the heads of state and leaders who are attending the G20 summit or who have come for the replenishment will make their final announcements, and then we will announce the outcome. If you go to the next slide, you'll see a little bit of the momentum that we hope to build up during the week. Oh, sorry, we've got some slide on participation. So just quickly, because as I said, because this is the G20 context, we are having quite a constrained attendance, but as I said, it will be in a hybrid format, so people can watch online. There will be community and civil society representatives invited, and several speakers at side events throughout the week. But actually in the room itself will be fairly limited to the G20 leaders who are attending the Leaders Summit, some of our champions and all of the donors. Next slide, please. I hope we're moving now to the format of the week. Yes. So in the days leading up to that 21st of November summit, there is the B20, the business summit, where the private sector constituency of the board will be hosting an event. We have the social summit, where we hope to have a youth-focused event together with partners in South Africa. There'll be a high-level private sector dinner for all of the private sector donors who are attending on the Thursday evening, the 20th. And then Global Citizen Now has their event on the Friday, and they will be featuring a health segment in the early afternoon, just in advance of our event, where many of our stakeholders will participate. Next slide, please. So just to give you some sense of what we're doing for communications in the final couple of moments, we will be doing a sort of final push over the next 2 weeks to ensure we maximize outreach in the donor markets, especially where donors have not yet pledged, of course. So it's our final chance to really influence the numbers that the donors are going to be announced. We hope to build some momentum with our champions and other partners as we push towards the final moments. And there'll be a countdown on social media, and I'll show you the toolkit in a minute, with a lot of content from our fabric champions and so on. And then, of course, our unique co-hosting partnership of South Africa and the United Kingdom will be showcased, with them also doing some outreach to build the momentum. And then once we have the outcome announced at the end of the Leaders Summit that afternoon, when all the pledges are made, we'll announce the final number. And our communications will very much emphasize the collective effort to finance the Global Fund, to ensure global solidarity, and to focus a little bit on the co-hosts' themes, which you're all aware of. You've seen the document. So solidarity, sustainability, innovation, equity, and transformation will all be part of what we'll be emphasizing and rolling out as part of our deliverables. And then the momentum for transformation and change. We all know that the reason it's been such a difficult year for fundraising is we're living in a very, very volatile and fast-changing world, and we need to think through what global health looks like in the next couple of years. The Global Fund will be implementing programs with the money that we raise, and we need to think, what is the context in which we are implementing, and how can we get the most impact for the money that we raise? Next slide, please. There'll be a lot of tools available to you for communications in the lead up to that final moment. There's a toolkit with the with films, with the stories from our wonderful fabric champions, other stories that feature themes like global health security, health workers, and other elements. You've got all the statistics, of course, from our results report, other graphics and things that you can use, lots of videos. We're creating a lot of new content as well. So all of that will be part of the 5-day countdown. So we really ask that you please amplify that as much as possible using your channels and engage with the toolkit and using it as much as you can. And then finally, next slide, please. We do need your help as we work up to these final days. The work is very much not done. We are in I would say, a very challenging situation for the last 2 weeks, where many of the top donors have not yet made their decisions or their announcements. So there's everything to play for. We do need to do a final push. Some pledges are already made, and we're very grateful for those donors who have stepped up to raise that 3 billion we already have. But there's a lot more that needs to happen. And so that 5-day countdown is important to really create the drumbeat towards the final decisions. We do need to emphasize the points that the co-hosts care about in terms of solidarity, sustainability, and so on. I think it's great that we have so many partner events in that last week, including from the private sector, from civil society, the social summit, other things that will really be able to show the different elements of the Global Fund partnership. We'd love you to share also your personal stories, talking about the impact of the Global Fund. And of course, we know that once we get that number on the 21st of November, the job is not over. We will need to work very hard to make sure that we fully convert all of the pledges and promises that are made by donors on the 21st. So thank you very much, Katie. I went as fast as I can. Sorry, it's a lot of content. But happy to take questions and if there's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Really appreciate it. And you're succinct as usual. So I will turn it over to colleagues to ask if anybody does have any questions, or to please use the raise hand function or use the chat. I feel like as long as we can get into the chat some of the links to some of those communications resources, that we can make sure that those are included and shared as links to, so that colleagues know where to find them. Mark really wants a necktie made from the 8th replenishment fabric. So don't forget, Mark, in any last little bits of fabrics that may be left over. Any other more serious questions? Not to say that a necktie for Mark's not a serious question, but there is a question around the civil society representatives at the replenishment moment itself. Diane, did you want to address that, or do you want me to start?
I can just tell you the parameters we've provided for speakers at the final moment, which is, of course, through our 3 board constituencies. So they will be selecting the speakers on behalf of Global Fund Civil Society. And then, of course, our fabric activations are community speakers as well. So they will be, the fabric champions will be involved in the afternoon as well. And then I think for the other events during the week, many CSOs are engaged, and those are on a case-by-case basis of who has been invited. So in terms of the speakers, it's through our governance processes primarily. And Katie, you might have insight into how that's being managed.
No, I mean, I think that's the answer. It is much more like a board meeting than it is like a replenishment of the last few years, the last few cycles anyway. So this feels very 2013 to me, because it would look much more like a board meeting way back then as well. And so, so you do at the actual event itself, but we do have colleagues who have joined us and will come online to give us a bit more of an update around the various sort of events that are taking place through the week, and which ones are open, which ones invitations will be coming to, et cetera, et cetera. So there will be a little bit more on that. There is a question in the chat, Diane, specifically about the US pledge. And Michael, I do see the question around the side events, so hopefully we will get a little bit more around some of those as we get into some of our other speakers. But Diane, you're now getting questions about the US and the French pledges in particular. So I don't know if you want to address those.
Yes, so what I can say is we do know that the US will pledge, and hopefully their pledge level will be shared soon, probably on the 21st of November. So that's when we'll know the pledge level, and the same thing for the French. So obviously we're in very close coordination with all of these donors. But when I said that the last couple of weeks are volatile, I really mean it. We do not have knowledge of pledge levels yet from many of our top donors, and in fact some of our middle donors. So I can say that we are hoping, and our objective is to keep all of our donors with us, and we expect them all to pledge. We're just not entirely sure of pledge levels at this point. And then maybe I can address Katie, I think the watch party is your question, and I think Pauline's already put some information there. But the side events and the thematic focus of the side events, there is more detail on some of them, but they're very much still works in progress. So they are, as you would think. The private sector event at the B20 is focusing on innovation. The civil society event at the social summit will focus on youth engagement and adolescent girls and young women. And the Global Citizen Now event, I think, is also focusing on both innovation and domestic resources. So longer term investments for global health, as well as I think going to showcase some of the innovations. But we're working on that segment with them at the moment. So that's about as much as I know.
Thank you, Diane. Appreciate it. So there's quite a few questions in the chat there, and that's great. Maybe Priyanka, maybe we could just put up our slides next. And Diane, do you have to run off at a particular time?
No, I can stay with you for another half an hour if there's more questions.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. So just to really quickly, again, we'll post these resources, and we don't need to go over this in any great length, but just sharing with you where sort of our resources are for you in the coming weeks, and for those important communications, in addition to what the Global Fund has shared. And we'll make sure that all of you've probably heard from us a million times already, but we will make sure that you have access to that through the listserv. We'll post links as well in the chat, but there's a QR code there. So there are sort of these different toolkits that you can sort of access, or different tools that you can utilize from us as well. And if we go to the next slide, we just wanted to mention a couple of sort of newer ones. They're new but old, but in any case, health in a fractured aid landscape and why the Global Fund still matters. Sort of a way to sort of defend the Global Fund model and showing why multilateralism remains relevant, which has been a really big sort of conversation this year, I think, for many of you, although for some, I know in some countries, it has always been a big discussion around bilateralism and multilateralism and what role your governments play. But that's a newer resource from us there. So we just wanted to make sure to highlight that. This shows some of the tools we have. We have had a little bit of fun trying to figure out which animals we can put with each country in our sort of thank you tiles. And I know our colleagues from Africa and Asia Pacific are doing similar kind of things from their campaign perspectives. But what we did want to just cover really quickly in terms of an update from us is that you will get information from us shortly if you are in Johannesburg. Because you're there for some of the side events. We are going to be able to retransmit the conference. Okay, we just lost the slide I was looking for, but anyways, it's okay. We are going to be able to retransmit the pledging summit we have a room in Johannesburg at a hotel. We will be sharing information about that for you all who may be there to RSVP and let us know what kind of numbers, because we know lots of people are based in Johannesburg or close by or around for the event. So while that summit is taking place, we will have a space for advocates who are in Johannesburg to join. We are also exploring the same in Copenhagen on the sidelines of the Union Conference, which is wrapping up that day, to see whether or not we can have sort of a space there. And what we're still sort of in discussion with is what other sort of places or spaces or invitations we might be able to make to colleagues to join sort of it's not a live stream because there isn't going to be a live stream, but we will be able to have like a hybrid call between the two spaces, physical spaces, showing what's happening in the summit. And hope to be able to invite other colleagues as well, but we don't have final details on that, so cannot share more right now, but stay tuned on the listserv for RSVPs as we sort out those spaces and opportunities for colleagues. So, oh, a Rottweiler for the US, as Mark is suggesting in the chat. So now we know what we will do for our thank you for the US, but I think perhaps it might be something different. But so we did just want to sort of address the questions about that. So we hope to have as many of you be able to join us as possible. We will share details on the listserv about that because it's a good moment after so many years and so many months and very, very heavy months in the last few years to be able to gather with colleagues and be able to watch and think about what the future looks like, as well as, you know, what we've accomplished in really challenging circumstances. So that's our quick update as well for you. I'm just going to pause for a second to see if there are any sort of new sort of questions or areas that are popping up in the chat or hands raised for questions, which I am not seeing. I think, David, if you're speaking about the allocations in terms of the resource envelope for GC8, I think Diane, stop me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe that allocation letters will come out after the February board meeting. So sometime in late February, early March would probably be the earliest. Is that about right?
Yes, that's correct. It'll be after the board meeting, which is second week of February, if my memory serves. Yeah.
Yeah, it's early February. I remember that. So that will be when those come out. So they're a little bit later than has been practiced in the last two, but that was, you know, part of extending the replenishment cycle and making sure that the Secretariat had the space between the end of replenishment and the board meeting to get all of those things run and other decisions that go alongside that. So now what I would like to do, and I'm not seeing any other questions or hands raised, is I'd like to pass the floor to Priyanka for a quick here I am and thank you cards update, which I just kind of ran through, I think, with apologies. But Priyanka, did you want to say more about those? I apologize. I was trying to get to this slide.
No, just to quickly add that we've launched I need to go back, but basically just wanted to share that, as Diane said, it's really, really helpful in the last mile to be able to push in any which ways we can. So as our last mile push from our end, we've released the Here I Am campaign videos that were shot on the sidelines of the GFAN annual meeting. Some of you might remember, and this new deck of resources is available on the Here I Am campaign website. A direct link to the website will also be available in the chat shortly. And apart from that, we've been sharing thank you cards for the pledges that have started rolling in. And as we'll continue to do on the 21st, as well as the pledges roll in during the summit, it's always really, really helpful if you can share, amplify, and post from your own accounts all of these resources, and of course tag us and tag the Global Fund and the respective government handles. So just keep an eye out on social media, and if you want to get ahead of the curve and want to download those resources, as I said, the link would be available in the chat really soon for you to go ahead and do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Priyanka. Some of you may notice that Conte is not actually on today's call because, and he's the one who organizes these things for us, and I've just destroyed his run of show. So I apologize for that if it seems a little bit more disjointed than normal. But we will move to colleagues from GFAN Asia Pacific. I think we have Jennifer online with us. So Jen, if I can pass it over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Katie.
There you
No,
are.
I'm here. Hi. Apologies, I won't be turning on my video tonight. Thank you for having me. Rachel sent her apologies. She's not feeling so well today, and so that's why you have me here with you today. So just a few updates from our end, and I think this is a continuation of a lot of what GFAN AP's core campaign activities have been over the last few months. One is that we will continue to be releasing World Health Day related statement. Last month, we released a statement on the Mental Health Day already. And in December, as many of you are aware of, there are a few World Health Day related days coming up. So look out for our statements during those times. We will be sending out letters for Sweden and the Gulf states that will be going out sometime this week. And then we will also be sending out a global sign-on for Japan in the coming few days. So thanks in advance to everyone who have been supporting our sign-on campaigns, and please do continue to support us with our sign-on for Japan in the coming days. And next, I think the other big part of events that we've been organizing, it's around the embassy events. So the Indonesia embassy event will take place next Tuesday. We've been working with our local partners, Spiritia Foundation, and also the UK embassies in hosting the event in Jakarta. And hopefully you'll be seeing photos and statements coming out following the event. We're also working with Masaki-san at Africa Japan Forum on related activities on the margin of UNITAID board meeting in December, which will take place in Tokyo in December. And then lastly, we'll be focusing on the thank you campaign. And in discussion right now, it's a confirmed event in Pakistan. Initially, we were looking at December dates, but currently I think there's going to be another round of political protests they're expecting in December, so things will shut down a bit. So we are now looking at sometime towards the end of January for that embassy thank you event. We'll keep everybody updated. And with that, I think that's all the updates I have on GFAN AP that I'd like to share. But before I turn the floor over back to you, Katie, I would also like to invite my colleague, Ken, to add anything, and if I miss anything. Ken, anything you would like to add to my list? Hello, Ken.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. Thank you, Jen, for the great summary. I think just reinforcing what Jen had highlighted, we will be releasing another round of global sign-ons. So please do keep an eye out on that on the GFAN and GFAN AP listservs. Please share that widely. We will be doing a lot more comms online, especially in the next 2 weeks. So I really appreciate everyone's support in reposting, resharing on your personal accounts as well. And we will be also supporting all of our each other's communications to really get the message out. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ken. Back to you, Katie. Thanks.
Thank you both. Wish you very well. And thank you for all of the work on the global sign-on letters. I think we'll all be looking out for those over the next week or so, as you said, so that we can add support, and good luck next week at the Indonesia Embassy event. Look forward to hearing how that goes as well, or the UK Embassy event in Indonesia, I guess I should say. So I will pass it over to our colleagues from GFAN Africa, Ségolène and Karthi, for quick updates from their end. And then from there, they will pass it on to other colleagues to sort of talk about the co-hosting and the events in South Africa. So GFAN Africa colleagues first, over to you.
Thanks, Katie. I thought we would start with a little bit about our campaign so far and what we see as ramping up in this last few weeks. As we had shared before, we're still continuing to focus on our kind of dual-pronged objectives of the Global Fund Replenishment target, but also strong domestic commitments from African leaders. So really targeting both sides. I know none of us need to see this timeline again. We know where we are, but just wanted to give a little look at all the kinds of key moments that we have passed, and also to flag that we're also looking ahead and thinking about what's after the replenishment moment in terms of the UHC forum, as Jen mentioned, UHC Day, ICASA, and other key moments in December, where we will be continuing the momentum and seeing what kinds of messaging to prioritize based on this month. So to give a quick overview of some of our core campaign tactics, Ségolène, if you would like to begin here.
Thank you, Karthi. So I'm going to speak in French, so just inviting all English-speaking participants to switch using the translation. En termes de mobilisation, pour les derniers mois, nous avons beaucoup travaillé sur l'engagement des parlementaires en tant que champions, que ce soit pour la mobilisation des ressources domestiques et les efforts de plaidoyer pour la 8e reconstitution. Et nous avons activé notamment 3 leviers. La première étant la task force régionale des parlementaires pour la mobilisation des ressources domestiques. Et c'est une plateforme qui réunit des parlementaires de plusieurs pays et nous avons pu organiser avec eux plusieurs briefings avec le secrétariat du Fonds mondial aussi sur le rôle qu'ils pouvaient jouer. Et ça a permis de leur donner des éléments, des messages, leur permettre d'écrire des lettres et de participer à des moments de plaidoyer importants. Et nous avons aussi travaillé avec la coalition des parlementaires pour l'élimination du paludisme en Afrique, qui a été lancée il y a quelques mois avec une session spéciale sur la reconstitution du Fonds mondial. Et en tant que COPEMA, ces parlementaires ont par la suite écrit au G7, ils ont écrit à l'Union européenne pour rappeler l'importance de leur engagement pour le partenariat du Fonds mondial. Il y a également eu des échanges de parlementaire à parlementaire entre le Nord et le Sud. Donc, on a eu les députés de UK qui ont rencontré ceux d'Afrique du Sud, etc., pour parler de la responsabilité partagée, vraiment de s'assurer que cette reconstitution soit réussie. Next. So, en plus de l'engagement des parlementaires, il y a eu plusieurs autres types de mobilisation, notamment l'engagement des ambassades. Et en termes de jeunes aussi, nous avons travaillé avec les jeunes et les voix de la lutte dans le cadre de la campagne. Énormément de discussions autour de moments clés importants, DRM, UHC, la co-création de messages et beaucoup d'activation digitale. Vraiment, les jeunes voix et les voix de la lutte ont vraiment été très dynamiques sur les réseaux sociaux autour des moments clés importants. Et voilà, donc Cathy, je te laisse la parole pour la suite. Merci.
Thanks, Ségolène. We also had a number of country mobilizations, so just wanted to highlight a few ones to say that there are embassy letters that are being coordinated with GFAN AP and the GFAN team, and they've been delivered in a number of countries. And some of these are embassy letter drop-offs, others are face-to-face meetings where we're supporting with messaging and using some of the campaign tools like the fact sheets and sharing those. Some of those appointments are still in the works, and we're hoping to reach even more embassies with these key messages in these last couple of weeks. We're also continuing to mobilize around key moments. On the screen here is a selection from World TB Day, Malaria Day, IAS, UNGA, CIPIA, and using some of these not only to be present on the stage and deliver some of these messages, but also behind the scenes, contributing to the communiques, contributing to statements, to digital campaigns that are happening at the same time as some of these events are happening, and joining the conversation live. We're also continuing to update the campaign toolkit, which I hope works really well with some of the really great resources that GFAN has shared. And some of these are more specific with Africa-specific data. Some of them include more of the DRM language. So there's a message bank, the advocacy letter templates, and these have been updated after the new results report came out. So in terms of the final push, we're continuing to support the global sign-ons that GFAN AP has been sharing. And we encourage our network to really continue the push on social media, post once every 2 days, maybe even more frequently, using some of these messaging, tagging leaders. Again, the toolkit has many sample messaging, and we're also continuing to release more and keeping it very up to date. Many of our partners are in the middle of getting more appointments to meet with leaders and meeting with ambassadors in the next couple of weeks in specific priority countries. We're also amplifying our media push. Some of these events with journalists happened earlier, and we're hoping that there will be publications that focus on the impact of the Global Fund published in the next 2 weeks. And in terms of upcoming moments, so next week we will have the C20 summit. There is the RAHI, which is a big youth-focused conference in Zambia led by the Youth Platform, and we're hoping to have a presence there to continue our youth engagement. The G20 summit, which my colleague will speak about, and also attached to that, we're hoping to host a civil society reception for those of us in Joburg on November 20th, right before the replenishment, and we'll be sharing more information about that. So this is our final push, and I would like to hand over now to my colleague from Waki Health, Sizwe Nombasa Guluwe, who will be sharing more updates on the replenishment plans from South Africa's perspective and the work there.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and good day to everyone. And apologies, my network is not so stable, so I won't be able to share the video. So I have apologies from the coordinating team members from South Africa who are leading the 8th replenishment as part of co-host between South Africa and UK. They are having a physical meeting that is currently happening in Joburg. So hence they're not able to join. So in terms of the replenishment, South Africa developed what they called a 7-point plan, and it focused on participation of MPs, mobilization of civil society and communities, using media and communication platforms, lobby South African government and embassies, private sector, aligning with C20, and then mobilizing the sectors from civil society to integrate 8th replenishment. So in terms of MP participation, the big one was the one that we did with the other comrades from UK, which is the MP exchange, that the MPs came to South Africa and the ones from South Africa gone to UK in terms of amplifying and talking and showcasing the work of the Global Fund and understanding then the benefits and why we should advocate for the replenishment. And then in terms of mobilizing civil society and communities, they have what they call replenishment ambassadors, which they use different social media platforms to advocate for Global Fund replenishment. So it's going then with the media. So they're using the different organizational social media platform, but also with the SANAC CSF forum platforms that they have on social media. And then also using different local radio stations. In terms of lobbying South African government and embassies, on the sidelines of CFIA, we did reach out to the embassies and also to South African government. Then to the South African government, our ask, which is also ongoing, was for them to increase their pledge to the Global Fund. So now what is in the pipeline is to have a meeting with them that as they are committing to increase, what is the percentage of the increase from the last replenishment? And also, while we're engaging with the embassies on the sideline of CFIA, we managed to have a response from UK and Germany. Germany at the time had already pledged, and they were saying they are looking forward then to the replenishment summit. And also UK, we are hoping then, as we are doing the last push, they are part of then the priority countries that we are engaging. And then now looking at what is in the pipeline for the next days and the coming week. So firstly, we have, as I've said, the embassy visit. So the way we're framing it this time around is asking them for virtual and hybrid meetings so that we maximize the time we have to also meet as many embassies as we can in terms of the priority countries that we discussed about with the Global Fund Secretariat. But also we are working through the C20 Sherpa, we're working with the Y20 Sherpa because they already have a activity that is going on the 11th to update the embassies about Y20. So we are working with them to get a slot in that so that we do our last push for the 8th replenishment. And then also, as I've already said, the follow-up meeting between the Minister of Health and also the DG for Health so that they can tell us what the percentage of increase in their pledge. And then the last one is we're looking at having the thank you videos for those countries that have already pledged, but the thank you will also end with the advocacy message that will ask those that have not yet pledged to maintain the 7th replenishment pledge or increase and do it as early as possible prior the 21st of November. So that is what is in the pipeline and coming. And lastly, I think in terms of like the G20 Social Summit and C20, there's a side event that we're working with the Global Fund Secretariat within the C20 Summit, which is happening next week between the 12th and the 14th, to have a side event that will focus on global fund replenishment. And then in terms of the G20 Social, we are having a side event on the 19th of November, starting at 9 to 11, where we have different speakers according to the working groups that we worked with that are focusing on women, health, and health R&D. And then on that one is also putting a spotlight on health financing. So I will stop at that and give it to my colleague from UK, Courtney. Thank you.
Thanks so much, and hi everyone. Nice to be joining you all. From the UK side, I think the main thing to share in terms of the UK pledge is we're now expecting that the UK is going to pledge early to the Global Fund. We have in the UK our budget announcement coming on the 26th of November, and we understand as of this week that this does mean that no funding commitments can be announced within the prior 2 weeks of that budget, which obviously covers our number of areas related to finances in the UK. So our timeline for advocacy here in the UK obviously is very short because this does mean that we're expecting the pledge to be announced by next Wednesday, the 12th of November. So there's been some sort of key pieces, including And as I mentioned, building on the parliamentary engagement we've been doing around the parliamentary exchange visit between UK and South Africa, there's been a number of debates just yesterday on the ODA cuts here in the UK, where the importance of Global Fund was raised, and also a specific Global Fund debate yesterday afternoon as well. There's some media and comms pieces that we're focusing on, again, recognising that we have a very short window and the parliamentarians here in the UK are currently on recess. So yeah, still doing that last push on parliamentary comms media, really making the case of the importance of the UK at a minimum, maintaining that 1 billion pledge, particularly as a co-host this year. We're also focusing on securing the UK Prime Minister's attendance at the Replenishment Summit. This is our key ask that we're making as civil society, and we know a number of parliamentarians are also raising this, and also obviously continuing to ensure that the UK as a co-host continues their work engaging other donors in terms of their pledges at the summit as well. Appreciate it's a very quick update in the time, but I'm very happy to connect by email offline if anyone has any questions or would like to discuss further. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Courtney. Thanks, Nambasa. Thanks, Karthi and Sigurlen. Merci. Thank you for all of those updates. There is a lot that is sort of going on, but I do want to pause just for a quick second to see if there are any hands raised or questions. I know I put a question in for Nambasa, I'm so sorry, but it would be helpful if you have links around the agendas or how to participate or understand what's happening at the C20 versus the social summit, and or sort of any of the side events with the Global Fund in the replenishment context, but also like just in general, what the two different events are. That would be helpful for me, so maybe for others in the chat. And I'm just looking to see if there are any hands raised or any other questions. Not seeing any. There is a note, Nambasa, as well in the chat from Lucille at GHA around your French embassy conversations. So just highlighting that for you. Not seeing any other questions, and we're super close to time. I guess I would just say thank you to everyone, to Diane and the Global Fund Secretariat colleagues who are online, to our regional partners and other colleagues who have joined. I think we will try and do a bit of a, we do typically post resources from the calls to our website, as I said at the beginning, but we will also, I think, put together a bit of an email that kind of collates everything for you, so that, you know, if what your opportunity is to be speaking with, you know, African leaders or embassy officials, you can quickly find our colleagues from GFAN Africa and AP's tools and those kinds of things. If you're looking to have your social media person or your own presence in the lead up to replenishment, you can find the Global Fund's resources, our resources, and our regional partners ones. So I think we'll work to just put together like a cheat sheet of links for the next few weeks so that you can sort of find them. But beyond that, I would just say, again, if there's a need for it, we'll call another call. But if not, we'll mostly be doing our exchanging over the listserv. So please do, you know, keep an eye on the listserv. Apologies in advance. It does tend to get very busy at this time. So you will be getting more emails than usual from us, but hopefully they will be mostly helpful. And don't ever hesitate to reach out with any specific questions that you have to our team, or, you know, I'm sure I could say that for the other colleagues who spoke today as well, but you're more than welcome to reach out to us and we can connect you with the right people if it's not on our desk per se. So thank you to everybody for speaking today. Merci à Laurence. Thank you to Laurence for our interpretation today. And thank you, everyone. Oh, Robin, you couldn't possibly let us go without you having a quick question. So jump.
I can ask this offline, just through the GFAN listserv. It's just about the aftermath and what our planning is as a group to communicate about the replenishment outcomes. So I'll send a note over email.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank
Obviously,
you.
it is something that we're all thinking about, both in terms of the immediate aftermath as well as, have a good day. Sorry. in the immediate aftermath, as well as in the weeks and months afterwards as we move towards the allocation period and into GC8. And so we'll be having many of those conversations, I would say. So thank you for the question, though, Robin, and good luck to us all over the next few weeks. And don't hesitate to reach out with any questions that you do have. Take care, everyone. Thank you for all of those lovely hearts. We're almost there for this, but we know that our work will continue, right? So take care, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take good
Bye.
care. Stay safe.
Thank you. See you next time.